That survival tip you saw on social media, the one that got 1 million likes and made you feel prepared. It's going to get you killed. Not metaphorically, not it's suboptimal. Actually killed. Body found weeks later by hikers who'll never forget what they saw. The internet is full of survival advice, and about half of it is written by people who have never survived anything more dangerous than a long line at Starbucks. They watched a documentary once, they read a book, they have opinions, and those opinions are circulating right now, getting saved and screenshotted by people who think they're preparing for emergencies. They're not preparing. They're loading the gun that's going to be pointed at their own head the moment things go wrong. The worst part? This advice sounds good. It sounds logical. It gets repeated by people who seem credible. You'd have no way of knowing it's wrong until you're in a situation where being wrong means being dead. Let's talk about the advice that kills, why it sounds so right, and what actually works when your life is on the line. Myth number 1. If you're lost, find a river and follow it to civilization. This sounds brilliant. Rivers flow downhill. Downhill leads to larger bodies of water. Larger bodies of water have people. Simple, logical, deadly. Here's what actually happens. Rivers in wilderness areas don't follow convenient paths to rescue. They meander. They loop back on themselves. They lead through the most difficult terrain possible because water takes the path of least resistance. And that path is usually a nightmare to walk. Canyons, waterfalls, gorges so steep you can't climb out. Riverside vegetation so thick you're moving at 1/10 of a mile per hour while burning 10 times the calories. People have followed rivers for days, covering what turned out to be 2 miles of actual progress, while getting further from search areas and closer to exhaustion. Rescue teams have found bodies next to rivers that led absolutely nowhere near civilization. The truth? If you're lost, stay put. Make yourself visible. Signal for help. Let rescue find you instead of wandering deeper into nowhere, following advice that sounds logical but isn't. Myth number 2. Drink your own urine if you're desperate for water. This is where most people mess up. They think urine is mostly water, so it's basically safe in emergencies. They've seen it in movies. They've heard the survival stories. It feels like forbidden knowledge that separates the prepared from the unprepared. It's wrong. Dangerously accelerate your death wrong. Urine contains waste products your kidneys already filtered out of your blood. Drinking it puts those waste products back in. Your kidneys have to filter them again, using water to do it. You end up more dehydrated than before you drank it. The salt concentration in urine actually pulls water out of your cells through osmosis. You're not hydrating, you're poisoning yourself with your own waste while feeling like you're doing something smart. Every survival instructor, every wilderness medicine expert, every person who actually knows what they're talking about will tell you the same thing. Do not drink urine. Find water, purify it, or accept that you're waiting for rescue without drinking anything. Urine makes everything worse. Myth number 3. Suck the venom out of a snake bite. This one comes straight from westerns and action movies. It looks dramatic, it feels proactive, it's also completely useless, and potentially makes things significantly worse. Venom enters your lymphatic system immediately. By the time you realize you've been bitten, it's already spreading through channels you can't access with your mouth. You're not going to suck it out. It's gone. What you will do is introduce mouth bacteria into an open wound. You'll waste time that should be spent getting to medical care. And if you cut the wound to let it drain better, like some advice suggests, you've now added tissue damage and blood loss to your snakebite. The actual treatment: stay calm. Immobilize the affected limb. Get to a hospital. That's it. No cutting, no sucking, no tourniquets, no ice. Just calm movement toward medical care as quickly as possible. Quick checkpoint. 3 pieces of advice you've probably heard, all of which make things worse. And we're just getting started. Myth number 4. Build a fire as your first priority in any survival situation. fire feels like safety. Fire is warmth, light, psychological comfort, signal capability. Every survival show starts with fire. It must be the most important thing, right? Sometimes. And sometimes fire is a complete waste of your limited energy that should be spent on shelter. If it's raining, your priority is getting out of the rain. Hypothermia doesn't care about your fire-starting skills if you're soaking wet and losing heat faster than any flame can replace it. Shelter first, fire second. If you're in a dry environment without materials, spending 2 hours trying to friction start a fire in the desert is 2 hours of sweating, dehydration, and wasted daylight that could have been spent building shade or traveling during cooler hours. Fire is a tool, not a religion. Assess your actual priorities: shelter, water, signaling, then fire if conditions allow, and you have the resources. The people who die are the ones who followed the movie script instead of reading their actual situation. Myth number 5. Eat snow to hydrate when you're cold. This sounds efficient. Snow is water. You're surrounded by it. Just eat some and stay hydrated, right? Your body is a 98.6-degree furnace. Snow is 32 degrees. Every mouthful of snow you eat has to be heated 66 degrees before your body can use it. That heating requires calories. In a cold survival situation, calories are the difference between living and dying. Eating snow actually accelerates hypothermia. You're spending precious body heat to melt water in your stomach while your core temperature drops. People had died with full stomachs of snow, technically surrounded by water, but freezing to death because they were burning more heat than they were generating. Melt snow first. Use body heat if you have to, but put it in a container against your skin, not in your stomach. Let your exterior warmth do the work, not your metabolic furnace that's already running on fumes. Myth number 6. Find moss to determine direction. It grows on the north side of trees. This is repeated everywhere. It's in scout manuals. It's in survival guides. It sounds scientific because it's based on real principles about sun exposure and moisture. It's also unreliable to the point of uselessness in actual navigation. Moss grows on the shaded, moist side of trees. In dense forests, that could be any side depending on canopy cover, terrain, nearby water sources, and local microclimates. I've seen trees with moss on all 4 sides and trees with moss on the south side because that's where water dripped from an overhanging branch. A hiker in Washington state spent 4 days walking in what he was absolutely certain was a consistent northward direction based on moss. Search teams found him 11 miles south of where he started. He'd been confidently navigating in almost the exact opposite direction, trusting folklore over reality, adding distance between himself and rescue with every step. Use the sun. Use the stars if you know how. Use shadows and their movement over time. Moss is decoration, not a compass. Your confidence in moss-based navigation is a liar, and it will walk you in circles until you're too exhausted to walk at all. Myth number 7. You can survive 3 weeks without food, so food isn't a priority. Technically true, catastrophically misleading. Yes, the human body can survive approximately 3 weeks without food under ideal conditions. But survive doesn't mean function. By day 3 without food, your decision-making is impaired. By day 5, your physical capabilities are significantly reduced. By day 7, you're making mistakes that get you killed because your brain is running on fumes. The rule of 3s that everyone quotes: 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, in extreme conditions, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. These are outer limits, not operational guidelines. You don't wait until you're 3 days dehydrated to find water. You don't wait until you're 3 weeks starved to find food. Survival isn't about reaching limits. It's about maintaining functional capacity to make good decisions. Food matters earlier than the memes suggest. Myth number 8. Play dead if a bear attacks. This advice has gotten people mauled who might have survived if they'd done literally anything else. It depends entirely on the type of bear and the type of attack. Grizzly defending cubs. Playing dead might work because you're signaling you're not a threat. Black bear predatory stalking. Playing dead means you've just made yourself easier to eat. You've essentially volunteered as a meal that won't fight back. The real guidance is complex. Know what kind of bear you're dealing with, understand whether it's defensive or predatory, respond accordingly. But the simplified play dead advice strips all that nuance and leaves people lying motionless while a predator approaches. If a bear is stalking you as prey, you fight back with everything you have. Eyes, nose, anything you can reach. Playing dead against a predatory bear is just dying with extra steps and significantly more terror. Myth number 9. You need to find food immediately or you'll starve. Panic about food is one of the biggest killers in survival situations, and it's not because people starve. It's because they eat the wrong things trying not to starve. That mushroom that looks like the edible one from the guidebook? There are dozens of poisonous lookalikes, and getting it wrong doesn't just make you sick. Some mushrooms cause liver failure that takes days to kill you. You won't even feel sick until the damage is irreversible. Those berries that the birds are eating. Birds can metabolize toxins that will destroy human nervous systems. What's safe for wildlife is not automatically safe for you. People have died with food in their stomachs because they were so worried about starving in 3 weeks that they poisoned themselves in 3 hours. Unless you have absolute certainty about what you're eating, don't eat it. Your body can handle hunger far better than it can handle whatever toxin you just introduced trying to avoid hunger. Here's the pattern you should be seeing. Most bad survival advice sounds logical because it's based on partial truths. Rivers do lead somewhere. Urine is mostly water. Moss does grow based on moisture patterns. The problem is that partial truths in survival situations produce complete failures. Remember that loaded gun from the beginning. Every myth we just covered is a bullet in the chamber, and the internet keeps handing you more ammunition while telling you it's protection. Real survival knowledge is nuanced, situational, and often counterintuitive. It doesn't fit in a tweet. It doesn't make for good movie scenes. It requires understanding principles, not memorizing rules. The people who survive aren't the ones with the most facts memorized. They're the ones who can read their specific situation and respond to what's actually happening, not what the internet told them would happen. But here's what nobody tells you about survival knowledge. Knowing what not to do is only half the equation, because there's a place where all these mistakes compound, where every wrong decision cascades into the next, where the margin for error is basically zero, and the environment is actively working against you. That's what we're covering next. Lost alone in the Amazon. 7 days in the largest rainforest on Earth, where the survival myths don't just fail, they kill faster than the jungle itself.